Welcome to our posts. Today, we will see stories of r/malicious compliance. My new catchphrase is not my job. So I got turned down for a promotion recently. I was told that I get distracted too easily and don't focus on my job. I got told that I need to stop trying to run in to be a hero if I ever want to be considered for a promotion. I was told that I need to work as directed. So for context, I have been doing my boss's work for him. When things at work get backed up, I will jump in to get things back in order quickly. My job has fairly specific jobs where we aren't supposed to change positions and we are to work as directed. I have gone to help out those outside of my job repeatedly since being hired. My direct supervisor and manager loves it when I go to help out. Well, that all stopped now. I even had the big boss try to tell me to help out a section that's outside my job description. My new catchphrase is not my job. I had the bosses tell me that I am to do as instructed. I instead go to the union and get paid and extra to work in a different section. This has been the new trend for the past couple months. And today it all hit ahead. They have only one person in receiving for a 4-man crew. I work outbound. They cannot force me to work receiving based on the contract. Now the bosses are working in there and grievance is being filed. The bosses have stopped working and receiving is completely backed up. I just had my manager come and beg me to help. I told him, not my job. I need to remain focused on my job and not try to be a hero. Work has ground to a halt and the steward is demanding triple rate for anyone moved to receiving since management decided to work. Let's see how this goes. Next story. Interviewer accuses me of parking in the handicap spot and tells me to prove it. A few years ago, while I was in school and job hunting, I got an interview at a company for office work. Filing, answering phones, setting appointments, etc. I was looking forward to getting an office job instead of retail or fast food. The building had big window walls that overlooked the parking lot so you could see cars pulling in and parking. I pull into the lot and park my car. I get out and walk into the office. Now as I'm walking in, I note that there is a car parked in the handicap space in the front of the office. This car looks just like mine, I should note. So I walk in, and I'm greeted by the manager who kind of gives me a scowling look. It made me uneasy a little as we walked back to his office. We sit down, and he is asking me questions in a bit of a clipped tone. He seems annoyed by my answers, and I don't understand what's going on at this point. Finally, he says, "Do you always park in handicapped spaces?" I'm confused, so I ask him what he means. He goes on a rant about how entitled I am for parking in the handicap spot at a potential place of employment, and I'm just getting more lost. I asked him what is going on because I didn't park in the handicap spot. I'm parked in the lot. He argues with me and says he watched my car pull in and saw me park there. I again told him that I didn't park in a handicap spot, but the car that I walked by in that spot looked similar to my car. He says that he knows that he saw me park and get out of the car. At this point, I'm over the whole interview. I knew this would be a disaster of a place to work for if this is the guy managing it. Then he goes a step further and says, "Prove it." I grab my purse and get my keys out. I don't even bother waiting for him and just leave the office. He's jogging after me and hurried outside to stand and wait. His face went from smug arrogance to Pikachu real quick as I walked past the car in the handicap spot. He asked me where I was going as I walked over to my car. Then I turned around and made eye contact as I hit the button on my keys to unlock it and got in. He was starting to walk over to me, calling out that he was sorry about the misunderstanding, but I just put the car in reverse and left. I didn't even make eye contact with him as I drove away. Edited to add, this was my second interview, so the manager knows what I and my car look like. I don't know why he said he saw me. I'm assuming it was a lie to get me to admit I did it. I've pondered this many a night, trust me. Next story. I used my meal plan to feed over 120 less fortunate people. This happened my freshman year of college about 20 years ago. My university had just invested in a big new dining hall and to help pay for their investment, required all new students to buy a 150 meal plan both semesters. This was a big financial burden being from a lower middle class family, but my parents pooled funds to help me out and make it happen. Shortly into my first semester, I found out from friends that the meals you didn't use didn't roll over. Since I lived off campus, I knew I wouldn't be able to use them all. Heading into November, I realized I would end up with 60-75 meals left over, and I complained about this a lot to family and friends because it seemed like such a waste. In comes the plan. My freshman year of college was also my cousin's senior year, and we hung out pretty often. He was the biggest trickster prankster type you ever met. One night while we were drinking, he says, "What if you brought a bunch of homeless people to use up your meals? How much would that piss off those self-righteous crap?" We laughed all night, but the more I thought about the idea, the more I really started to like it. We talked all weekend about it and hatched a plan. On Monday morning, we went down to the local Salvation Army around the corner. I have grown to really despise this organization, but in the early 2000s in small-town USA, it's what we had. We told the lady at the desk I would like to feed people in need with my meal plan. She was hesitant at first, but said she was working with people that this would be a huge blessing to, especially during the holiday season. She helped me organize 2 days the following week where around 30 people would meet me to eat at the dining hall. I would wear a certain hat so they could find me, and we would go eat. The day finally arrived and all kinds of people were there. There were homeless people in tattered clothes. There were families with kids that seemed excited to eat out. There was even one family I will always remember that seemed embarrassed to take a handout, but I made an effort to talk to everybody and make them feel welcomed. At noon, we headed into the dining hall. I walked up to the lady at the entrance and said, "These people are with me. They are my friends. I would like to swipe them in." She looked confused but reluctantly said okay. To say we got every reaction humanly possible would be an understatement. There were staff that were obviously annoyed with the influx of diners. There were students that were laughing. There were students that were giving me the silent clap. There were snobbish faculty members that seemed to be disgusted at the type of people coming into the dining hall. I didn't care at all. Eventually, a head staff member came up and said they knew what I was doing, and they didn't like it. I said, "These are my friends eating with me. I paid for these meals. Am I doing anything wrong?" She was stumped. The next day, the same situation happened with the same reactions. It seemed that I had caused quite a stir on campus, and it just so happened that the university president was eating there that day. She came up to me and said even though she would ask that I not tell me friends to do the same thing with their meals as the staff couldn't handle the influx of diners. She was proud that her students had the heart to do something for others like that. The following semester, I did the exact same thing. I even used my meals sparingly so I could bring more people. The one memory that will always stick out in my head is the family with the little kids so excited to go to the pizza bar and soft serve ice cream machine giggling the whole time. To this day, it's still one of the proudest moments of my life. Me and my friends and family still have a drink and chuckle over the story and the snooty, angry reactions I got. Next story. Take my ID and ask me, "What the F are you going to about it?" Okay. So when I was a wee superb _raccoon, but still superb, I was in the Navy. Recently 21, we decided to go to a bar that had a decent local cover band, so we show up and I present my ID. Grant you, clean cut and close shaved, I did not look 21. But my out-of-state ID was no good and all I had was my military ID. Dorman decides he can F with me. This is fake. I am keeping it. My eyes bugged out. "Dude, that is a military ID. Give it back." "Nope, mine now. $20 bucks or F off." "I can't get back on base without it," I said. "Then you better cough up $20 or F off." "Oh, I see. This is a shakedown. F off, huh? Okay. Cue malicious compliance. Buddy who drove and used state ID drove us back. We go into the officer of the day's office to report my lost ID. Ood is a crusty old crap, but fair. Actually a Mustang. He takes orders from the president and God. And we are not sure of the president. He might tell him to F off if it is a stupid idea. He listens. My buddy backs my story. His eyes narrow in an evil, evil way. Chief, can you come up here? I got a present for you. I started to shake a little. Am I headed for a few days in the brig for losing my ID? F. There goes any chance of a bump to E4. Seaman Raccoon here says the doorman at Joe's took his ID and wants $20. Pull a driver and one of those jarheads at the gate and go down there and sort it out. The chief looks at me like fresh meat. Come on you two, we are going for a ride. So we all pile in the van with a couple of Marines in BDU and sidearms. It is quiet on the way there. Chief, don't look too happy. Can't believe I gotta deal with this crap. Well, at least I don't have to sit at the desk all night. So we roll up. Place is pretty packed. Doormen don't look so tough as the chief stalks up to him like a storm cloud spitting lightning and 2 armed Marines flanking him. I am hanging back. Raccoon, this the guy with your ID? Yes, Chief. Chief gets up toe to toe with him. Chief is short and wide, but is built like a brick wall. Jim Muscle Doorman takes a step back, but dude has nowhere to go in the little entranceway. Give me his ID now, or I will start looking for it myself. ID is produced. Handed to me. Doorman ignored. Chief pulls the door open, looks at the room. Motions for the Marines to make a hole to the bar, make it wide. They do so, calmly shouting to move people out of the way as the music and talk dies down. Chief grabs a chair, stands on it, then uses his parade ground voice. All active duty military. This site is now on the prohibited list. Pay your tab and get out. He gets down, walks out with Marines tailing him, and half the bar follows them out. Very few are active duty this far from base, but many are reserve or retired. They don't like crap like this either. Place went on the list and was still there when I transferred out 6M or so later. Yep, I effed off. Hard and fast. Next story. Next story. I refused to cook and chilled with men. I F28 dislike cooking. Don't get me wrong, I cook for survival, but it is not something I like or enjoy. At my in-laws, both my mother-in-law and sister-in-law are stay-at-home partners and love to cook. Neither of their husbands lift a finger to help, and they like it that way. Before marriage, I was treated as a guest. But since my marriage 6 months ago, they expect, want, and demand I cook with them. First few times I went along with it, but I hated it. It took 5-7 hours to make food and do dishes. So when they planned a get-together last weekend and discussed the menu, I suggested ordering in. This way everyone can be more relaxed. They looked like I insulted them. I told them they can cook, but to give me a list of what I should make. I will buy it. They said that's not how traditions work, and if I hate it too much, I can relax with men. That's exactly what I did. Much to their anger, I helped setting place and serving, but that was it. As we were eating, my husband commented how good something tasted. Mother-in-law immediately went on about how I wouldn't be cooking anything for him. When he said he can cook for himself, sister-in-law chimed in with how her husband or dad never had to cook a day in their life. How marrying lazy women like me has ruined his manhood. I looked at my husband and we both left. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law are blasting our phones over my arrogance and calling him spineless. Even my mom is taking their side now. But guess who don't care? Next story. Company doesn't allow me to have my phone, so I cost them $100K plus. I originally posted this as a comment to a similar story, as I had totally forgot it happened until reading that. The OP suggested I should share it as my own post, so here it goes. I have worked in warehouses for years. A few years back I was a contractor. Companies would hire us and bring in 20+ people for a few weeks when they desperately needed help. I was a shift lead, usually the highest person on site, and needed to talk to my boss regularly throughout the day on a company phone. One warehouse had a policy where only managers could have their phone on the floor, and technically I wasn't a manager. Everyone under me was instructed to leave them in their car or a locker. However, I needed mine. One day I was talking on the phone to my boss, and one of the managers for the company we were working for saw me and demanded I hand him my phone, and I refused. He then threatened to kick me out, so I rounded up all my workers and said we are taking a break. We all go outside, and I tell my boss what happened. He comes to the site instantly and starts talking to their boss and tells him I need my phone on the floor. But since I don't have manager in my title, they refuse. So my boss decided I can't do my job, so nobody under me can do theirs either. The end of the day, the other company is pissed we didn't get any work done and decides to cancel our contract, which cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's written in the contract that they will have to pay to send us home before the original end date. We all still got paid and got 2 weeks off before having to go somewhere else. Next story. So you are claiming I defrauded the company by booking an extra 3 minutes, no problem. I worked for a water company for 25 years and was one of their most productive repair crews. That is until the new manager, let's call him Mr. Numbnuts, started. We had a monthly rota where you are on call for 1 week in 4 for emergency repairs out of hours. On the day in question, I started work at 7:30 am on a Friday and finished work at 3:15 am Saturday morning. So a pretty long arsed shift. I get to work Tuesday morning and get called into the office by Mr. Numbnuts and informed that according to my vehicle tracker, I'd left the yard at 3:12 am and not 3:15 am, which is an attempt to defraud the company. As you can imagine, I was absolutely fuming at this level of crap. I told him that at the time I was covered in mud and sweat and just wanted to get home after completing a monster shift for the company, and was he genuinely making a crap storm over 3 minutes. He said he was making me aware that I could be fired for it. Cue malicious compliance. I said that if we're going to be this petty, you can take me off the emergency contact list for extra coverage, and I won't be starting 20 minutes early each day either. I'll now be clocking in at exactly 7:30 am and I shall be heading out at exactly 5:30 p.m. No deviation whatsoever, and you can explain to your bosses why productivity is down and you are struggling to get coverage for emergencies. We'll then see how important your 3 minutes are when they are costing the company money. Little did I realize at the time, but the guy's job was bonus related and linked to our productivity, which tanked after that because all the other gangs followed my lead, except the brown nose gangs, obviously. 3 weeks go by with an absolute crap show in customer service complaints about their work not being carried out in a timely manner. My productivity dropped from 7 jobs per day down to 4. And Mr. Numbnuts gets called in by his bosses to try and explain what the F is going on. He tried to spin some BS story that I'd turned all the guys against him for no reason, and that this was the result. Little did he know that I'd actually trained his boss when he first started with the company 15 years before, and wanted to come out and find out what we do and experience how hard the job is. He surprised me by working a full month on the repair crews before going back to the office. Anyhow, the boss calls me in to find out what is really going on. So I explained how he'd used the tracker to monitor what time I'd left the yard and that I'd guesstimated my finish time and overestimated by 3 minutes because I was absolutely knackered after working a shift from hell on call. Conclusion: manager was let go for misuse of the tracking system, as it's only supposed to be used for emergencies and not monitoring, and we had our on-call system reviewed to cut the hours we were having to work. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel. Our posts